Shit. Collective lab, bitch.
Blaksun
Take it to the lab.
Take it to the lab, yo.
Tough
Dance up by the dance.
Tough Jam Entertainment. Tough Jam Entertainment.
Top beat, Tough Jam Entertainment. That's live. Just take it to the lab.
So what's your name and where you from?
Hi, I'm Blaksun Quest and I reside out in Edenvale, originally from the Gold Coast, Ghana.
Fire. What made you fall in love with hip hop?
Damn, hip hop, I run into hip hop as a youngin', digging through my dad's music through records, and then I found this really catchy beat. But I would say that was rap, but hip hop, I fell in love with hip hop when I got here to JSEC, and realized that there was a whole subculture around this. And I felt this was one of the most expressive forms of music, one of the best ways to actually articulate yourself and let the world know who you are.
Love that, man. Tell us then, with your journey and growth within hip hop and being where you are right now, as an artist, when you create music, when you think about the world, when you think about hip hop, what would you say is your agenda as a hip hop artist right now?
So one of the biggest things that are dearest to my heart is the unification of Africa. I'm very passionate about African history, where we come from as a people, and in general where we're going, where we fit in the greater scheme of things. And I found out that hip hop was one of the best mediums to actually bridge that divide. You must understand that all these colonial borders that we know right now were actually created by people who sat in a meeting and decided this on our behalf. And because of that division, we're actually the feeder of the rest of the world from an economic point of view. So hip hop is one of the ways to enlighten people and remind them that we actually hold the power and we can actually bring some real definitive change to society.
Yeah. That's crazy, King. That's really dope. So now, with like artists such as yourself, like and I hate using the word conscious or underground or deep, because those they have their own connotations. They have their own little boxes that they put you in. Yeah. Now you can't do this song because everybody expects you to do I love jazz songs or whatever. You feel me?
Yeah.
Now, with that having been said, how do artists such as yourself be able to reach the mass market when we have concepts such as gatekeepers, and how do you think the gatekeepers affect artists such as yourself that's trying to push music that will expand the mind, music that will feed the mind for people to be greater beings and for us to love each other more outside of just partying and shooting and dressing out, you know?
So there's a big narrative that's being pushed if you look at mainstream media. The reason why we have gatekeepers is because there were people who were acceptable, whose packaging fit main media's description. Now, what is a gatekeeper? A gatekeeper is someone who has access to the broader state of media, and they are able to choose and pick whose sort of steez fits the narrative. Now, I mean, if you look at music right now, and the most selling music, and you look at the narrative out there, it's about death, it's about discrimination, sorry to say, it's about abuse, it's about opulence. We are overvaluing our freedoms to the point where we are letting it spill over others. Now that narrative needs to change. I mean, why do you have Megan Thee Stallion, not to say she's a good artist, but why do you have her influencing how my daughter dresses? Do you get what I mean? So if I'm gonna have to challenge that narrative, then I have to find an outlet, and I have to put out music that's going to challenge the status quo, and that's exactly why we're doing this hip hop. I believe it's time for the covert to become overt, and we can do so, make marketable music without actually selling out, and that's where I'm stepping to.
Yeah, some of your biggest influences, King, I'm even scared to say. Yeah.
Influences, I have an
inspiration,
wide range of influences, but in hip hop, particularly as an MC, Planet Asia #1, KRS-One #2, believe it or not, Big L #3, #4. I will leave that to Odyssey. Like as a producer, as a beat maker, as a lyricist, I love Odyssey. And #5, I'm gonna let like everybody just scramble for the #5 spot. but I've always had a very sweet spot for Jungle Brothers, and I think their music was like sort of like changing the narrative, bringing Rastafari culture, bringing that, you know, that street urban UK vibe into the mix. I think hip hop can blend with any genre of music, and I think it's time as underground artists, or rather independent artists, to start taking over the narrative that the world sees what hip hop is all about.
Yes, King. Can't go on for long. I'd love to, but what can people find out there of you in terms of music? Where can they find the music? What are we looking forward going forward?
I have very limited music. I only have one album out, which is Blaksun, which you can find on Audio Mac for free. I'm not on any of the streaming networks. That's another story altogether, why it's not. And you can find me, obviously, Blaksun_Quest on all the popular social media groups. And in terms of work, I'm working with a whole lot of range of artists, not just MCs, and I want to, like, for the first time, work on something marketable, but still keep true to the culture.
Nice, King. That's all really I can really ask. Just give me your shout outs, and where can people find you? Already said that. Just drop me your shout outs.
Shout out to everybody who made this possible. You know, big up to my crew right back there in Edenville, Propaganda. Hope you're checking this out and hope you can learn from this game. And altogether, I know 1852 is up in here, 1632 is up in here. You know what I mean? Let's keep the culture going. Bless, much love.
Blaksun Quest, view.